So, Chuck, I mentioned going to break your relationship with Nolan, which of course dates back to his playing days here. Is he still out and about doing speaking engagements these days?
Not as many as when he was the president of the Rangers, but every now and then I'll get a phone call from Round Rock, and they'll say, "Hey, we got one going," but not as many as we used to.
Yeah, and
I mean, when he was the team president, I mean, we were doing almost 4 or 5 a month, and maybe sometimes even more. But
wow, yeah. And basically, you go and interview him at these events.
Yeah,
right?
It's more of he. Even when he first came to the Rangers, he was a guy that he said he didn't like to go out and speak by himself, and it's a lot easier for him to have somebody there to ask him a question or something. And once you ask him a question, I mean, he tells a great story. So, that's probably the best night, John. And it doesn't get any better than this for me, being a huge baseball fan and a fan of pitching. One day he called and said, "Hey, well, we've got one in Midland," and I said, "Okay, what time's the flight?" And he said, "We're not going to fly, we're driving." And so we drove from Arlington to Midland and Midland back, and on the way back was we listened to a ball game as the Angels and the A's were playing, and we talked baseball for 5 hours on the road, and probably the funniest thing, we'd come out of these that one it was the Texas League All-Star game, and Billy Beane was also there, and we felt like we outperformed Billy Beane.
Sure.
So that's back when Billy Ball was going on, but Moneyball.
Yeah.
And then we'd get in the car, and just about every time we'd go somewhere to speak, Nolan's first words are, "Well, if you can find a Dairy Queen, I'll buy the ice cream." But really, just for a baseball fan like me, it's incredible.
Yeah, and I love. I was kind of hoping you would tell that story. I love that when we inducted you into the Rangers Hall of Fame, Star, your wife, had shared with us what Nolan said about you regarding that trip. And he remembered it well, and he loved it. He said it was one of his great nights in baseball.
Yeah, she had gotten me for my 60th birthday. She got me this box, and she reached out to all of these people that I'd worked with at the Grand Ole Opry and in baseball, and probably the most touching note was the one from Nolan, to have him say, one of my greatest nights was riding down the road from Midland talking baseball. That's pretty cool.
Especially when you guys were doing 3 and 4 and 5 a month. I mean, to remember one specifically.
Right. Well, and I'm sure he remembers the one. We had one in San Antonio one time. It was a Toro convention of Toro dealers. And we're at the nice Marriott down in San Antonio, and we're getting ready to go on stage. And I looked at the guy and I said, "How long you want us to go?" And he said, "Well, about an hour and a half." I go, "Oh, an hour and a half?" And Nolan goes, "Chuck, can we do an hour and a half?" I said, "I tell you what, we'll do it for Toro." And what was great, they had a microphone set up out in the audience.
Yeah.
So they let people come up and ask. So hour and a half was easy.
Yeah, that's just awesome. That's great. I love the story you weren't responsible for, but involved in, the advent of the home run derby from the first time that the All-Star game was here in Arlington.
Yeah, when in 95, I had pushed Mr. Schieffer for not an old timers game, but a celebrity softball, and then ABC was pushing us. They didn't want an old timers game. They wanted a celebrity softball. So Mr. Schieffer wanted the old timers game, so we had the old timers game on the workout day. And we started the game, and what was really neat, I got to work with Joe Garagiola. He did the play-by-play. I did the introductions. I introduced all the players and things and stood there with Joe and brought him up to bat, and then he would do play-by-play. Well, they were supposed to do 4 innings, and they did 2. And Joe hands me the mic, he says, "Well, that's it, Chuck. Here you go." I go, "We got 2 more innings." "No, there's not. It's too damn hot. We're done." So they left the field, and then we had some time to fill for ESPN because they needed it, and they kept trying to figure out what are we going to do. And they talked about bringing out the old timers for a home run derby, and I said, no, I don't think that's going to work for anybody. And then I just said, why don't we add another round of the home run derby? And that's how that happens.
No kidding.
So we had an additional round for the home run derby
to just fill that time.
But I'll tell you what, that's one of the few times in my life, maybe other than when I in high school football in the fall, that I felt like I had left my body and I was watching myself because it was so hot.
And
really
you and Joe
hot.
were you guys on the field?
We were on the field.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we were on the field.
That
And
was
then I stayed on the field later to work with Mark Holtz for the home run derby that they had. So it was a long day and it was hot.
Yeah, and that was just for ESPN programming.
Right.
Was essentially was it
That's
ESPN?
what they were. Yeah, they were worried about not having enough.
They just need content.
Yeah, they needed 2 more innings of old timer baseballs,
and they couldn't do it. So you ended up with the early rounds, which I think are some of the best rounds currently. of the home run derby.
Yeah. I don't know. It was all right. This last year, it didn't seem like they had the big, like, marquee slugger though. It just felt a little light.
Jeff, I agree with you, and I really wish, and I don't know what goes into all the decisions, how that affects a player's play afterwards or whatever. Right. But you would really like to see Aaron Judge in there all the time. You'd like to see Shohei in there and stuff like that. So, but ours turned out pretty good with Teoscar and Bobby Witt going at it. That was good.
Right. You had a hometown guy who wasn't a hometown guy, but homegrown guy.
Right.
Yeah, it had to be fun to have it back here and in the new beautiful ballpark.
I'll tell you what, John, it was fun, but it was a lot of work this time. A lot more work than it was in '95, and my crew went through a tough week there because we had rehearsals leading up to every event. We were there early in the morning rehearsing, and we actually rehearsed that national anthem that was performed at the Home Run Derby. But,
didn't turn out that great.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work at the rehearsals either. So, but anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Oh, man. She was, well, we don't need to.
No, she rehearsed twice, and after the first time she rehearsed, I went to Major League Baseball and said, "Hey, I can get you somebody here in 30 minutes that can do it." And because we had a lot of great singers that know how to do it. And, they said no. Our music people said we got to use her, and so we went with it. So that's what happened.
Well, they learned their lesson, didn't they? Yeah. Didn't look bad on you. It looked bad on them. How do you get the anthem singers? Like for a nightly basis?
A lot of it is just folks that call us up and want to sing the national anthem, and they send us an audition tape, and a lot of people have done Maverick games. We got a guy named Michael Bortz who's he's fantastic. He does a lot of things like that, and Joel LaGrone's another guy we've used. He plays Santa Claus at North Park Mall during the Christmas season.
Oh, he's got the beard for sure.
Yeah. So it's just people call in like that, and then every now and then a promoter, somebody for a musician or something, will call and say, "Hey, we've got somebody going to be here that day." So
yeah. You've do you in general meet these people? Do you talk to them at all?
My staff does. I don't have anything to as long as I know how to say their name correctly, that's all I worry about. So,
It's
and
cool.
It's real, and this, and TV expects it to be about a minute 15, a minute 20. We had a guy one night at Arlington Stadium, and he started over 3 times.
Oh no!
Gosh. I mean, he got to a point and then had to restart, and but he eventually made it through it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, mm-hmm. I love the saxophone when they play
Paul
it.
Rogers.
Yes, there you
go. He'll every now and then Paul will call me up and say, "Well, is it okay?" I think on opening day he called me up, or one of the days it was. And he said, "Hey, can I put a little extra sauce on this one?" And I said, "No." I said, "Let's just go traditional on this." But he did one. It might have been for the Futures game or something like that, or somewhere. And I called him and said, "Hey, Paul, I want you to put a little extra sauce on this one."
Nice, yeah.
But he does a great job.
Yeah, he really does. And then I think they're called the Texas Troubadours. It's like a barbershop quartet. Is that?
Yeah, that's part of.
Bortz is part of
That's
that.
part of Bortz's group.
Oh, it is.
He's part of that. Yeah, the Strikeout Kings.
Yeah,
There
okay.
you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And when they're doing it, it sounds like something out of what you'd see in The Natural or something.
Yes, it
back
sure
in the
does.
Day. So,
Yeah, no, they're good. They're good for
Yeah,
sure.
no.
Bortz does a good Canadian anthem.
You want an anthem-related Nolan Ryan story real
Yes.
quick?
Yeah.
Jeff, maybe you might remember this, John. We were at the ballpark in Arlington, and I went to Nolan. Nolan was my boss, so I went to him and said, "Hey, the Golden Knights Army parachute team wants to jump into the ballpark with flags and the first pitch baseball." And he said, "All right, let's do it." So that night there were, I think there were 5 guys. 4 made it, and 1 got hung up on the flagpole.
He did.
On top of the
I remember
home
on
run
top of the
porch
scoreboard.
scoreboard.
Yeah.
And during the national anthem, he's up there and he's swaying, hanging on the flagpole.
Yeah.
And he was up there about the 3rd inning. My phone rings, and it's my boss, and he says, "Hey, Chuck, how long you gonna leave that guy hanging up there?" Well, you know what was happening? The Arlington Fire Department was trying to figure out a way to get him down safely and not make a big stir while the game was going on.
Yeah, and he's got a pretty damn good seat. What does he care? Watching
Yeah,
opening
he's just
day.
Did he pay to get in?
Yeah.
But no, they did a great job. They got him down. But that was real funny. Phone, hello. Hey, how long you gonna leave that guy hanging up there?
Only Nolan. That's just fantastic. I remember we got to go, but that time you had the Eagle bring the ball in and drop the ball. I was doing sidelines that day. I went up there to meet the guy who had the Eagle, and I guess I just kind of went and tried to pet it. That damn Eagle went like crazy, and the guy's like, "Don't touch us." Well, you gotta, put a sign up or let a guy know.
You know, John, it was always fun, even with Nolan there, and is the Eagle. The donation you have to make to have the Eagle there. It was a lot of fun at budget time.
Oh, is that right?
And convince Nolan that it was worth the money.
Oh,
so.
yeah, I bet. I bet.
We all silly like the mayor.